Seoul may have been South Korea's star attraction for decades, but a new travel trend among foreigners in recent times is saying, don't stop at Seoul, go further, as a whole Korea awaits you. Hello and welcome to Press Perspective for this Tuesday, July 14th here in Seoul. I'm Min Sun-hee. South Korea's tourism map is changing. More foreign travelers are looking beyond Seoul, choosing regional cities for authentic local experiences. For more on this, I have independent journalist Kelly here in the studio. Kelly, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I also have Yunia, a journalist with Indonesian weekly magazine Tempo, live on the line. Yunia, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Hi, Tani. Hi, Kelly.
Welcome, Yunia. We'll start here in the studio. Kelly, let's begin then with the reality that a growing number of travelers to South Korea are choosing to travel beyond Seoul. What's the reason behind that shift in travel trend?
Well, I think Seoul, is getting more and more of a reputation of, say, like Paris or London. It's become this global, international city that may not carry the same charms as the Korean countryside, or not even the countryside, but other cities like Busan, which has its own distinctive characteristics. And so I think a lot of foreign tourists, when they come here, they want to have more of like a true Korea experience and something a little bit different than the kind of commercial microcosm that is Myeongdong or Seongsu, right, where you're just going to skincare shops and the Nike flagship store and whatnot. So I think Korea used to be a place that people visited maybe because of military ties, because it was close. Like I believe from China to Jeju and back, Jeju Island is one of the most trafficked airline routes in the world. And now it's not just seen as a place where you go to because there's proximity or because maybe it's cheaper or because you have some other reason to be there, but it's really kind of a greater appreciation for experiencing Korean culture. I often think about when I first came here 10 years ago, a lot of people would say, oh, maybe I'll come visit you in Korea because I want to go to Japan, right? And Korea's nearby. So it was really me that was bringing them to Korea, right? Not Korean culture itself. And, they would go on about their Japanese tea ceremonies and seeing the palace in Osaka and stuff. And now I think what you're seeing is a greater awareness of Korean culture and what Korea has to offer. And a lot of those amazing things are outside of the city. So just as an example, this is kind of a nerdy one, but South Korea has the most dolmens in the world, and none of them are in Seoul, right? And so for those that don't know, dolmen is like an ancient, primitive stone structure that we still don't really understand why societies all around the world would erect them, but they kind of look like the Stonehenge, essentially. So there's just a lot of charms to Korea outside of Seoul that people are very interested in.
Right. And Yunia, you recently covered the shift in travel trend from Seoul to beyond among Indonesian travelers to the country. Could you tell us a bit about your findings?
Yes, I think so. Seoul is the #1 destination for post-Indonesian travelers, but over the past few years, we've seen a clear shift. More Indonesians are no longer limiting their trips to Seoul. They're beginning to explore other parts of South Korea as well. According to Airbnb data that I worked before, the most popular destination among Indonesian travelers now include Busan, Jeju, Incheon, Gyeonggi, and Daegu. That tells us regular travel is becoming more popular alongside Seoul, but not replacing it. I think there are several reasons behind this trend. First, South Korea has done a great job promoting the unique identity of each region. Jeju offers beautiful natural landscape. Busan is known for its beaches and seafood. Gyeonggi has historical and cultural attraction, while Daegu is becoming popular for its local cuisine and festival. Travelers today are looking for experience that feel more authentic and diverse. And Korean popular culture is another major driver. Indonesian audience have strong connection with K-dramas, K-pop and Korean films. Many people want to visit filming location they've seen on screen or attend concerts, fan meetings, and festival held outside Seoul. As a result, destinations like Busan and Jeju have become much more familiar to Indonesian travelers. And social media has also changed the way plan their trips. So I wouldn't say Seoul has become less popular. It's still the gateway to South Korea. What's changing is that Indonesian travelers are want to exploring more and staying longer. They're becoming interested in experiencing South Korea as a whole, not just its capital, but also its regional culture, food, nature, and local communities.
Right, I see. All right, Kelly, according to a survey by the Tourism Ministry here, 8 out of 10 foreigners claim that food was the most satisfying part of their trip. No argument there, no argument, right? Now, accordingly, in recent times, there's been quite a bit of foreign media coverage about Korea's so-called bread pilgrimage, boosting regional tourism. Could you tell us a bit more about this bread pilgrimage tour?
Yeah, I think over the last 10 years or so, an appreciation for Korean cuisine in a more expanded version of Korean cuisine beyond Korean barbecue has really taken place in the United States and in the West, as well as parts of Southeast and South Asia. You can find, like a 닭갈비 restaurant in virtually any city in the world at this point. It's pretty exciting. But you can also start to find things like naengmyeon and dishes that were not really known, even by some Korean Americans, say a decade ago. So with bread specifically, I don't want to coin the term K-bread here. I hope the Ministry of Culture isn't listening when I say that. But K-bread, I don't know if it's quite reached the point where anyone's explicitly visiting South Korea for the sake of trying its bread, but certainly people might travel, take the KTX while they're already here out to Daejeon to go see one of the world champions. There's a very famous bread competition that takes place in Paris every year, and there was a bakery, kind of an old school bakery in Daejeon that was part of the team that won that prize. And so there has been a little bit of publicity around Korean desserts and bread in recent years. I think to the point where it's been elevated to the same level as maybe Japanese sweets and bakeries. So that's kind of an exciting thing to see. But I actually think this is one of the areas where your average tourist could have more knowledge. And if anything, I think they really discover things like sogumpang, the salt butter rolls, from the cafe scene here. There's a lot of cafes here. It's like akin to maybe cafe culture in Portugal, but even more aesthetic and interesting, right? So, Korean food in general, I think, is one of the successful fronts in Korean soft power in the last decade. Just anecdotally, I mean, when I left Boston and moved to Korea 10 years ago, one of the last stories I did for a US publication was about how Boston's Koreatown was essentially dying. And statistically, that was true. Restaurants were closing down. The Korean newspapers in the area were closing down. Now, when I go back, it's like triple the number of restaurants, and they're serving dishes far beyond barbecue. And I just find it really impressive. I mean, they even import those red plastic pocha chairs to Boston to recreate the experience. So the spread of like the Korean dining culture, you're really starting to see it in the West.
Right, I see. Yunia, let's touch upon some of the areas that we can further improve perhaps. What are some of the hurdles for foreign travelers, especially from Indonesia to South Korea?
I think one of the biggest factor affecting regional tourism in South Korea is accessibility, and by accessibility not only transportation but also how easy it's for international visitors to enter the country and travel comfortably once they arrive there. But I think transportation actually both South Korea's biggest strength and one of its remaining challenges when it comes to regional tourism. The good news is the getting from the one major city to another is very easy. South Korea has an excellent transportation network, especially the KTX high-speed rail, which connects city to Seoul, Busan, Daegu, quickly and efficiently. The subway and bus system are also very reliable, so visitors can travel independently without much difficulty. And my friend visited Korea last year as they rely almost entirely by train, subway, and bus, even to places like Bukhansan National Park, and they found it easy, reliable, and very convenient. The challenge usually come after you arrive in those regional destinations. Some attractions are located outside city center, so travelers often need to transfer between uh, trains or local bus or taxis. And for first-time visitor, understanding local bus route or schedule can sometimes be confusing, especially if they don't speak Korean. Yeah. So language can also be a barrier. While English is commonly used in major tourist areas, it's less common in a smaller city and rural destination. Some signs, restaurant menus, or local information are still available mainly in Korean, which can make independent travel a little more challenging. And also for Indonesian traveler in particular, finding halal food is another consideration. South Korea has made it progress in becoming more Muslim friendly, especially in Seoul. But halal dining options are still more limited in a smaller city. That's why many Indonesians plan their meals in advance or rely on recommendation from travel apps and social media. Overall, I think South Korea already has a world-class transportation network, which is a huge advantage for regional tourism. The next step is making regional destination even easier for international visitors to enjoy through more multilingual information and for Muslim friendly facilities and policies that encourage people to explore beyond Seoul.
Right, indeed. Right, then transportation, as Yunia just mentioned, Kelly, it's a very crucial part of the travel experience. That being said, the government has shared a couple of measures to enhance the overall convenience of foreign visitors. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Right. I think, unfortunately, transportation has been one of the biggest banes to a foreign tourist's experience here, especially if they don't speak any Korean. And so the Korean government has announced a few things to hopefully, one, help with affordability, which I actually don't think is the primary concern with transit here for tourists. I think tourists who are coming here are usually willing to spend money. It's not so much that a bus ticket to another city is too expensive for them. It's just more about accessibility and ease of that kind of travel. So, for instance, one thing that I read is that the Korean government is trying to partner with platforms that tourists maybe already know. So one of them is Klook. That's something where it accepts foreign credit cards already. It's a well-oiled machine. It's kind of like TripAdvisor. Tourists are already looking. The SEO is very good. And so maybe they can book a train ticket or a bus ticket with a discount to another city, and it will be easily kind of integrated into the bus terminal system in South Korea. So I do think that's a very good improvement, because it used to kind of be that you need to either show up to the station and try to buy a ticket with an agent that may not understand you, or you had to find a Korean friend really fast to help you out, right? I've heard that the Korean government has vowed to make its regional airports more updated and tourist friendly to, like we were talking about, encourage some of the interest in regions outside of just Seoul, Busan, and Jeju. So these are all very helpful fronts. I've also seen that the major SNS, or the kind of tech conglomerates of South Korea, are doing a few things. So Naver and Kakao, I think I've heard, are maybe floating ideas like allowing foreigners to make accounts even though they don't have a phone number, or to register a foreign credit card. So these are all major improvements. I will say, even for like English teacher friends that don't really speak that much Korean, they're still contacting me far too often, asking me for me to send them the Naver pin to a market or a cafe or something. I think there's a lot left to be improved if we want tourists to feel welcome here. Google Maps doesn't really work, and Naver and Kakao, the translations are, I think, AI driven and very poor. So it's quite difficult to find something if you don't speak Korean. Even for me, it's like I use the Korean version of the app because the English is so butchered that it just wouldn't make sense half the time anyway. I think South Korea's government platforms for things like the trains and the buses really need to be improved. So, I remember, for instance, there was one time back in the day where I only had a foreign credit card available to me, and the Korean version of the Ko-Rail website wouldn't accept it, so I had to switch to the English version. And then whenever I would try to book the ticket, it would say, like, website error, visit our office at Seoul Station. And it's like, who wants to do that? So I think things are getting better, but this is actually one of the key areas if Korea's trying to push a tourism industry that it really needs to consider.
Right, prove its English, the English part of transportation information then.
And access to all of these things without a local phone number or credit card.
Right, for sure. And this is something that you had mentioned before when we were talking about social issues here in the country. Right then, Kelly, moving forward, another intriguing trend among foreign travelers here is the purchase of sunscreen. This is something I had no idea about. Could you explain this for us?
Yeah, so I just wrote a piece for National Geographic magazine a little bit about this. It was more about how South Korea's sunscreen technology is actually, some of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, and certainly innovative. So a lot of tourists these days, maybe part of the reason why they come to Korea is for K-beauty, skincare, for plastic surgery or skincare treatments that maybe are available in the United States but originated in Korea or are just more affordable in Korea, at least for Western tourists. I think for tourists coming from the UAE and whatnot, there's actually an access issue. They don't have the same technology yet as Korea. But with sunscreen in particular, I don't know how many consumers actually know this, but when I was reporting that article for National Geographic, one interesting thing that I discovered was that, say the sunscreen formula from a Korean international skincare brand in the US looks exactly the same, the tube, the packaging, the marketing is the same. If you're buying it on Amazon as a customer in the US, you're probably getting a different formula than the same product that's sold in South Korea. And some of that has to do with kind of regulatory issues that are not necessarily linked to safety. So for instance, in the United States, sunscreen is considered a drug, not a cosmetic. And so there's a lot more bureaucracy to get that stuff approved. Animal testing is a requirement, whereas animal testing in Korea is not a requirement, and in Europe it's actually banned, right? So what I'm trying to say is the latest, most advanced, pleasant formula for sunscreen might not actually be able to get into the United States because the United States has a very short list of UV filters that are approved, whereas South Korea and Europe have almost double the number of UV filters available in their formulas. So just to give a sense, I think a month ago, the FDA approved a new UV filter that's been used in Korea for a long time now. That was the first time they approved a new one since the 1990s. So you're just talking about a system where if you're looking for the best of the best or the latest technology, you probably want to physically come here and buy it. I don't know what the legal implications of that are, but basically I think there's a growing knowledge that you can buy Korean skincare in your home country, but it may not be the same. I think a lot of people are actually coming here for a variety of reasons, and they figure, while I'm here, let me buy as much as I can. It's not necessarily that they're flying here internationally to buy sunscreen, but it's an added plus. And I certainly, when I send packages to my family, I throw in a couple of tubes in there, and I want them to stay unwrinkled, if you will.
Yunia, amid the growing popularity then of K-beauty, cosmetic stores are a must-visit destination for travelers to Korea. Recently, however, more tourists have been shopping at pharmacies. Why are these places becoming so popular among Indonesian travelers here?
Yes, shopping. I think shopping has always been an important part of visiting South Korea, but today it's no longer just about fashion or souvenirs. Beauty and wellness have become part of the travel experience. I think K-beauty is still one of the biggest reasons Indonesian tourists love shopping in South Korea. Korean skincare and cosmetics. Many consumers see Korean beauty products as innovative, high quality, and relative affordable. And also, Korean celebrities have also play a huge role. K-pop idols and actors have become global ambassador for beauty brands, and many fans are curious to the same skincare or makeup products they use. And beauty retailers like Olivia has become must-visit destination because they offer a wide range of skincare, cosmetic, health products, and beauty supplements. But recently, we've seen another interesting trend. More foreign visitors, including Indonesian, are also shopping at Korean pharmacies. I think social media has been the biggest driver behind it. On TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, there are countless videos recommending pharmacy exclusive products such as acne treatment, scar creams, medicated skincare, vitamins, and other health products that aren't always available outside Korea. Many travelers also see these pharmacy products are more science-based or dermatologist recommended, so they're interested in trying products that local Koreans actually use in their life, in their daily lives. It's very common now for people to arrive in Korea with a shopping list they save from social media.
Right, I
Okay,
see.
so today, shopping in South Korea is just isn't just about buying cosmetics, but also Korean beauty and wellness culture.
Right, indeed. Kelly, according to
Yeah.
the most recent count, over 2.5 million foreign residents live here in South Korea now, and quite a number of pundits are saying that they look to play a role in promoting tourism to the countries they visit family and friends. How can Korea make most of this reality, do you think?
Well, I think as someone who has had many friends come and visit me, and over the years, I think I was the main attraction. It wasn't necessarily that they were interested in Korea. Like I mentioned earlier, Korea was just a stopover from Japan to them. I think that's changed a lot where now people really aspire to come to Korea and see its culture. And it's still, I think, and this is just my perception, for Western tourists, I think it still seems like a place that might be slightly inaccessible or hard to navigate, or is a little bit more intimidating. And so having that local friend or family member that can kind of show you the best of the best and show you a good time, it feels like one of those countries where it maybe still needs that to many people. So just as an example, I don't think like the average American from the suburb that I used to live in America would feel intimidated to go to France by themselves, but for whatever reason they do in Korea still. So what can the Korean government do? I think, you know, there are certain concerns that I hear from people that are interested in coming here that could be addressed. So one is, like we mentioned earlier, the navigability of this place beyond Seoul. I think Western countries are very concerned with things like dietary restrictions, so vegan, vegetarian, nut allergy, in some parts of the world, halal food, and that
As
the
Yunia
Korean,
mentioned earlier.
yeah, the Korean restaurant scene is not necessarily adapted to that yet, where that information is accessible or that menus are really modifiable. And I think, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I have heard over the years from Black Americans that they are worried about coming here because they may not be welcome. There's a perception that maybe there's discrimination against them or that they won't be treated as well as like a white foreign tourist. I think that also comes from people in South Asia as well. They have that perception. And also people who are overweight have also expressed to me that they're worried about being judged or discriminated against or insulted or not being able to fit in like the clothes at a jjimjilbang. So I think there are certain things in terms of adapting to a diverse group of people that could still be done here. And I do think it's happening. Like I've seen some changes over the years. But as Korea really invests in its tourism industry, I think that's something that it should consider. And I think also it's kind of happening slowly in part because Korean people themselves are interacting with foreigners more because of the increased number of foreign residents and tourists and kind of for their own commercial interests, you know, adapting to that. So for instance, in like Myeongdong, there will be like a strawberry stand that says it's halal, right? It's almost unnecessary to say in some ways, but they clearly are interacting with people from all over the world, and that feels important.
Right, indeed. And hopefully we'll have more halal restaurants beyond the Seoul area then. I'm afraid that's all the time we have today. Kelly, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you.
Yunia over in Indonesia, thank you so much for making time to join us live.
Thank you.
Right, that ends Tuesday's edition of Press Perspective. Thank you for watching. Do join us again same time tomorrow.